What's up, everyone? Welcome to Unmasked, where things are discovered, uncovered, brought to the light, and made known. I'm your host, Lamar Barrett, coming live to you from PG County, Maryland. If you're interested in finding out about the untold stories behind being a college coach, this is the show for you. Being a college coach or a former college coach for more than 16 years, there are so many untold stories behind the scenes in the life of a college basketball coach. Now, let's unmask them. Today's guest is a young assistant coach with a wealth of experience. I'm getting fooled by the amount of years he's been in the game, coaching college. He's a former high school and grassroots assistant coach, a bright basketball mind, an excellent talent evaluator, a tremendous teacher, a future star on the collegiate level, and he's a DMV native. I wanted Brenden Straughn. Now, Brenden is a guy I've been knowing since his days of playing at, I don't like to talk about it too much, but it was an arch rival school when I was there, Eleanor Roosevelt. But before I even bring him on, I'm going to talk about his resume a little bit. Like I said, he played at Eleanor Roosevelt High School, and from there he went on to Hood. Outstanding career, 4-year starter, 3-year captain, also left there in the top 10 in a couple of categories there at Hood College. And then once he was done, he probably went right with his passion. Probably, after a while, everybody lives the dream of being a pro. And then, when you realize, hey, it's the next best thing is getting into coaching. And he followed that path. Right after college, he got into coaching at his alma mater, spent 6 years there. I believe while he was there, they won 2 state championships. I know they won a couple of county titles. And also at the same time, he was coaching the team takeover as an assistant coach for his first few years, first 3 or 4 years as a first 3 years actually as a assistant coach, and then he became the associate head coach for the last 3 years with team takeover, and that led him to college basketball, something he didn't want to get in. Most of his life being at the high school level, he had a chance to go to Loyola College, where he spent 1 year there before moving on to St. Joe's University, where he spent the last 2 years, and they've done a great job of starting to build that program up and recruiting a lot of good players and being with Billy Lang. So I want to welcome to a show a guy I've seen as probably a 9th grader, if not an 8th grader, and seen him grow into the person he's in today. Welcome to the show, Brenden.
Lamar, appreciate you having me, man. I definitely wanted to get on here and support what you got going on. And yeah, like you said, I've known you probably since I was 14 years old. Met in the open gym going into my freshman year of high school. So it's been, literally over half my life ago, I met you, and I've always maintained that relationship with you and admire what you've done. And we've maintained a great relationship and a mentorship, and I appreciate you having me on.
Man, you're welcome, man. Like you said, 14 years old, even though, and I said it, I was at Oxon Hill, he was at Eleanor Roosevelt. I was done coaching at Oxon Hill. Still, that runs in your blood when you coach there, but it was a relationship that if you were a true PG County baller, that's what it was about. It was still a relationship. And that's what it was about, watching you as a 14-year-old kid. So that's impressive. Like I said, to see where you are now, I'm proud, and I know there's only bigger things that's going to happen. Well, look, man, we came here to get you unmasked. Like I said, I've seen what you've done, and I know there's going to be bigger things further. And I just want to, talk about your experience since you have been in the business, and what things you're going to be looking forward for going forward. One of the first questions, Brenden, man, I love to ask. So you stated on the other side, you've been at the highest level from a high school basketball program to AAU coach as well. But you talk to people who have been in the business, but the experience, you have your own experience. You're going to create your own niche. You can learn from guys, but there's no handbook to being a college coach. Tell me about your first day, the first week, maybe the first month after things are done with human resources and orientation. Especially, no one gives you direction. They can tell you what it's like, but people don't usually give you direction. They just throw you in the fire and say, figure it out. Tell me what that was like.
Oh man, looking back, it was a invaluable experience, man. When I made that transition to Loyola University of Maryland, Those first couple of weeks was, different range of emotions. One is like, I want to do a good job and make sure I'm impressing my boss, and I'm at work on time, and I'm fostering those relationships with the players. I think, but one of the biggest differences, going from grassroots or high school into a college setting is, getting involved on campus, meeting administrators, meeting coaches from the different sports teams, just ingraining yourself in the campus community. From a high school AAU standpoint, you really don't have that opportunity, so to speak. So that was probably one of the biggest adjustments. And then, you are in a college setting. There's, passing that recruiting test, right away. It is funny, like, because I was on that side, all the rules, but you got to make sure you freshen up and understand that, there's little details or little rules that apply differently to 2-year guys, to 4-year guys, or, what you can do on unofficial and official visits, mile radius, all these type of little nuances that, on the AAU side or the high school side, you just kind of know the blanket rules, but, on the college side, I need to know all the rules to make sure I'm compliantly where I need to be. So that's probably one of the bigger changes or transition as I moved on from an amateur side to professional coaching side.
And you're 100% right about those rules, man. And everybody, like, the first time you take the test, they tell you, oh, it's an open book. You got 30 questions right in 60 minutes, and it's like, 30 questions in 60 minutes, and you need to get 80% of those right. And no matter how much you go through it, everybody's nervous.
Sure.
Whether you taking it in year 1 or you taking it at 15, it don't change. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad to hear you say that and talk about the recruiting test. Yeah. Talk about recruiting in general. You had been, when I say recruiting, you didn't do it in public school, but being a takeover in the AAU program, you had already done some recruiting. You're trying to get the best players, but then you were on the circuit, not just EYBL in general. So even though you're a DMV guy, so that's your home base for recruiting, but you built relationships everywhere else. Like, that's what people don't understand. Like, yeah, you recruit your home base, but you got to have relationships everywhere else in this business, because Absolutely. You want to be able to recruit from just everywhere, not just your own backyard, but everywhere. Talk about your best and worst recruiting stories in the last few years since you've been in college athletics and college basketball. Talk about that, your best and worst. And it might not be a worst, but something that just like, couldn't believe it happened, or you may have lost out on the kid, or anything related to that. What's your best and worst recruiting story?
From a recruiting standpoint, like you said, you definitely, the DMV is home. It's going to always be home. That's going to be a foundation from a recruiting standpoint of where I look to take advantage of my relationships that I've had since I was a teenager. But, while doing the high school and AAU, I was, given the opportunity to network and meet a lot of guys from literally across the country, specifically, obviously, up and down 95, specifically in the Northeast. And here I am now at St. Joe's, in a place where we can recruit players from different areas and different regions. So that kind of was a really good foundation for what I was going to be and head towards as far as recruiting at higher levels and everything like that. Recruiting story that went bad, I would probably say, man, obviously I'm not going to say any names, but I pride myself on being pretty good evaluator and, having an eye for talent, and, there's certain things I look for. And, one kid in particular, man, one summer saw him. He's long, he's athletic, got a chance to be a really good player in college, a versatile defender, versatile offensive player, but he didn't have the name cachet, so to speak, as, some of these other guys. He wasn't quite playing on one of the major shoe circuits. So he was kind of flying under the radar a little bit, but I saw the talent. I'm like, all right, coach, this guy's going to be a player that, quote unquote, is higher than our level, or a chance to, really impact the game on both sides of the floor. And I'm one of his first offers. I'm the highest level, and I'm recruiting him hard, man. I'm recruiting him hard for about 4.5 months. So I started recruiting him in July. We get all the way to probably middle of January, end of January. He goes up to this prep event and at Brewster, and all it takes is one game to change everything. And you go out there. He went out there. This young man had 20-something points, like 26 points, 14 rebounds, and all that hard work that was going in this particular case didn't get rewarded. Obviously he had some Power Fives come in and kind of changed the narrative of his recruitment, and he ended up going to a Power Five school, and which is what I thought he was in the beginning. So I just wish we could have got the commitment before that. Right now at St. Joe's, that's something for me that I've run into a lot, where I want to recruit talented players. We as a program want to recruit talented players, guys we feel that can play at the next level, have aspirations playing at the next level, and you just hope that the equity you put in as a staff individually gets rewarded. But in the part of this game, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. You're actually going to lose more than you win. And in this particular case, I thought so highly of him. I was on it early, thought we did a great job. And it's funny, till this day, like his parents still connect with myself and Coach Lang, and we did a really good job. He just decided to go to a different school, but that's probably one of my worst ones. And then from a best one, I wouldn't lock in on one particular player or anything like that. But again, I think it's more identifying guys early and then building those relationships. I like to recruit, make sure mom, dad, trainer, girlfriend if necessary, aunt, grandma. So just fostering those relationships, and here recently been able to pick up some pretty good players on a recruiting trail. Actually, one I'll probably give you, now that I think about it, one that's a good recruiting story. The kid Jordan Hall here out of St. Joe's. So when I first got here, I got on campus, man, and started watching film and everything, and I see this kid is like, he's big, he's versatile, he can pass, he can shoot. As corny as it sounds, you've been across the country recruiting yourself. Not everybody can dribble, pass, and shoot. And I saw something in him where he's like, hey man, some people think he's not athletic, he's not fast enough. I'm like, at that size and that skill set, that feel for the game, he's gonna be a really good player. Fortunately, we was able to get his commitment early. So we got his commitment summer before the EYBL, summer before Peace Jam, summer before senior year. He's already committed, he's locked in and done, and that was great for us. But as he went to his senior year, he arguably was the best player here in Philadelphia. He led Newman Goretti to the Catholic League Championship, man, won the state championship, and turned that momentum into a really good freshman year at St. Joe's, where he was first team all rookie. I think he should have won rookie of the year, but I'm a little biased, obviously. Kid had triple double, he did great. And then from here, he just finished up his NBA draft process. So this is a kid that has a professional future. He worked out for 6-7 different teams, and he was invited to USA U19, and that's from St. Joe's, not some of these Power Fives or quote unquote high level schools. We're high major, but from the outside looking in, people classify different things for different schools. But I like to think that this is a kid that we saw it early, and we identified the talent the right way. We was able to help develop him and grow, and the plan is now to continue to help him reach his dreams and goals of playing professional basketball and be able to take care of his family. So that'll probably be one of my better recruiting stories.
That's awesome, and congratulations on getting him back. Because
yeah. Hey, look, he was in that portal. That's a part of this thing now too, man. He definitely was in the portal, but it ended up working out.
Yeah, and he does have a bright future, and I mean, and there's something you said, like, I mean, you guys obviously, with him being, rookie of the year and all of that, I mean, you guys saw something in him, which, it is tremendous. And, Yeah, he's gonna be special, and I'm sure like he'll have another great year for you guys. So I'm definitely a guy I've seen a couple of times now. Trust me. We talk about sacrifice in this business, and whether you a high school coach, AAU coach, whether it's boys club, whatever it is, there's sacrifice. And I don't think people understand how much it is in college, even more sacrifice. But what did you have to sacrifice to achieve your current level of success? Because I don't think people understand, and I've been saying it over and over, like, you work 15, 16-hour days. You got the scout reports this long. I mean, you got scout reports, you got recruiting, you working 355, 360 days a year. Like, talk about your sacrifice, what you have to give up. Because you're young enough where friends are getting married now. They want to take vacation, and you can't do that when they want to. But talk about that. What do you have to sacrifice?
Yeah, man, you're right. I actually, man, started sacrificing a lot earlier than even transitioning to college, because I was working. I was accounting. I was data coordinator. I got a professional 9-to-5 background. But during that, I knew, like, hey, I want to transition to coaching. And from 22 years old, essentially, like, I was ripping and running, trying to put myself in a position to accomplish dreams and goals. And definitely socially, I've had my share of fun and everything like that, but I passed up on a lot of opportunities to do a lot of different things. Whether it's high school friends, just regular friends in general. And we going here, we taking this trip, and man, I got a coach. And the same thing here in college. Like, I had to move to a different city twice by myself, moving places where you don't know anybody. You don't know. I mean, I know basketball circle people, but just in general, like, you're by yourself, away from your family, away from your main core of friends and support system. So yeah, there's a lot of days where I want to say it's lonely, because at the same time I'm doing what I love and I'm able to provide for myself and my family. But you definitely sacrifice some social aspects. Like you said, it's these days are long, man. People think, you coach basketball, that it's just 2 hours in the gym each day, 3 hours in the gym, and that's it. There's a lot of nights staying up watching film. There's a lot of hours spent on the phone. There's time on the road driving up and down 95. It's a lot of sacrifice, man. I'm not just on the court for 2 hours or at home sitting in bed watching TV. It's film, it's phone calls, it's get on the road traveling. The emails, just organizational things that and other responsibilities that my coach has, whether it's with our team, projects they're working on campus, in the community. There's a lot going on. So you definitely, time is of the essence. One thing you learn is you don't want to waste time. You want to be efficient. If you have a schedule, you want to stick to it. But you also have to be flexible, knowing in this business that things always don't go as planned. So you got to be able to adapt and make sure you get the job done. So from a sacrifice standpoint, I've definitely sacrifice those things in those areas, but all in all, this is what I want to do, and I'm loving what I'm doing.
Great stuff, man. And it's great for these young guys to hear what you're saying. I mean, you're young yourself, so
I'm still pretty young.
Yeah, it's great to hear this, because you do have to give up some stuff.
Yeah,
but it's a lot of time. The biggest thing I used to always have family members or even friends be like, so what are you doing in the off season? Like, off season? There's no off season. Like, we kind of feel like we're one of the sports.
It's a 12-month job, man.
All the time. So, you talked about scout reports. We know that, man, scout reports are huge at this level. You don't want to give kids too much, because they can, like, you give them too much, they definitely going to things, right?
Yeah.
Or you want to give them enough that when you go into a game, they're prepared. They know what they need to know, whether it's they need to know things that's going to be successful to win. So the preparation that you put in, watching 7-8 games, you talked about film earlier, making sure you translating what you think you see to coach, how
Yep.
we can win this game from an offensive or defensive standpoint, knowing
Yep.
your personnel and translating to them are huge. Verbiage got to be on the same page.
Concise. Yep.
So talk about your best and worst scout reports you may have had in the short term that you've been coaching. Because you know, like I know you understand it. So now it's like the verbiage or you translating it to them how you want to execute this game plan. Talk about that.
Yeah, I think it definitely starts in the preparation. Like you said, you're watching games, you're watching, you know, situations, trying to figure out, you know, what opponents do well, what they don't do well. And then from there, you know, putting it into a format or a plan that, you know, our coaching staff understands, and then our players can go out there, understand it, and execute. You know, so I would say I was pretty fortunate that I was afforded an opportunity to learn and grow in that area before I made a transition to college. Now, obviously in college, there's a lot more resources, a lot more data available to you, whether it's Synergy, you know, Ken Palm. It's when you get into like the particulars and the specifics of, you know, personnel, individual players, or, you know, different areas of the floor, or, you know, adjusted tempos, you know, style of play. But, you know, from just a scouting report in general focus, I was able to kind of do that in the grassroots level, where we treated our program like college. And then as I transitioned to Loyola, I was pretty successful in my first years. I don't want to get into wins and losses, but I won more than I lost by a lot as far as my personal scouts. And that's something that as a young coach, I take pride in. I want to be able to make sure I'm getting right to the meat and potatoes of how we're going to win this game. And a big part of that too is being able to watch film, break down film, understand that, you know, these guys are teenagers or young adults in their young 20s, knowing that this world is a phone world, a social media world, a minute video world on IG. So the days of like having 10-minute videos, you're not going to hold their attention span for that long. Now, the days of having scouting reports with 10 pages, that's probably not the best way they're learning now. Guys are learning now with images, videos, emojis, you know, so kind of adapting to your audience, which is our players. So film breakdown is big. I like to try to keep my stuff short and concise, you know, whether it's personnel, basically what he does well and how do we stop it, or what he doesn't do well. You know, from an offensive standpoint, you know, what areas of defense do they struggle guarding multiple ball screens? Do they overhelp on drive? You know, just little stuff like that. And then defensively, you know, talk about what we try to take away, what common sets do they run? You know, what do they run in late shot clock? What do they go to out of bounds plays? And, you know, like I said, in the preparation will help you, you know, when the time comes, game time. You know, if you're prepared, if you've done your homework, you know, you'll be able to see things before it happen, call them out, and put your players in the best position to win that game.
So true. And there's nothing wrong with knowing your record. You say your record was better than what you're better than your losses, your wins. Everybody's competitive. You know that.
No, for sure. Listen, I know exactly what it is. I just, you know, I'm not here to promote it like that, but I did pretty well my first year.
Awesome. That's awesome. What's the biggest challenge, man, you think you've experienced since you've been in college coaching? Like, I mean, you got hit, you know, after year one. I mean, pandemic in year one. So, but like, talk about anything was your biggest challenges you may have experienced since you've been college coaching.
I wouldn't say it's a challenge. I think for me is that in my career, it's going to help me in the long run. But, you know, particularly I've been a part of 2 programs that, you know, basically got a rebuilding from ground up. And I was also with 2 head coaches that have different experiences as far as their background, which I still can relate to. So, you know, at Loyola, really strong program, really strong academic school located in the great city of Baltimore, you know, DMV. But when we got there, you know, it was after a coaching transition, and I got to see the ins and outs of a first-year head coach implementing his culture, his foundation, and how he wants to build a program, and learn a different style of play. So that was great for me individually. And then as I transitioned to St. Joe's, the same thing. The school decided to make a change, and pretty much everybody left, and we started with 3 players. And again, you're a part of a major rebuild. You're part of a coach now coming from different programs, different levels, where he's coming to instill culture, style of play, staff continuity, identifying roles. And it's been a really good experience. Now, I couldn't predict that COVID was going to be one of my first years of coaching college basketball. Excuse me. But from a standpoint of like going through something to get to the other side, I wouldn't trade what I've been through so far, because I know in the long run it's going to help me, especially because I have aspirations of running my own program one day. So being able to fall back on those experiences of what did we do in the first 3 months at Loyola, what did we do in the first 6 months at St. Joe's, how do we spend our time with our players, how do we integrate ourselves on campus, the relationship with the players, the relationship between the staff. It's all been valuable experience that I wouldn't trade. Like I said, it's all part of the story, my individual story of my career. So I'm blessed and I'm thankful that I've gone through that. So there are challenges, obviously. Would I've liked to have gone 30-5 each year and played in Final Four? For sure. And those days are coming, but as of right now, you have to go through things to get through things. And I like where I've started, and I'm definitely appreciative of Coach Hardy even giving me the opportunity. I met him years ago and gave me the opportunity. I thought I did the best job I could there as far as help building that program, getting its name out there a little more in the DMV, where people like, Loyola's a good choice. And he's a great coach, great staff. Guys are going on to do well there, and they're going to continue to do well. And then here at St. Joe's, this is a basketball program, a basketball school with tons of history from, guys that went on to coach in the NBA, guys that went to play in the NBA. We've been to a Final Four, been in Sweet 16, been ranked #1 in the country, had a National Player of the Year. We're in a great city, 4th largest media market in the country. So we're just trying to do, a little remix to what's already been done here. So you can come here and accomplish everything you want with the game of basketball. And, I'm thankful and grateful that I have the opportunity to, help build on that legacy.
Awesome stuff right there. You're right. Like, I like the remix part too. You're 100% right. It's a lot of tradition there. Yep. You're right on the head. Do you ever? And I mean, I know the answer, just because I've been playing so long. But do you ever find that there are things about you that people misunderstand? What are they?
Man, I'll say this. I don't want to be pigeonholed or broadcast as just a recruiter. I know that recruiting is a part of this, and I feel I'm a very good recruiter, and I have a network that I can tap into, and to be able to recruit talented players. But I know as a young African-American male, I just want to be recognized as a recruiter, yes, but as a coach, as a developer, as a teacher, as a guy that will have a relationship with the players, and understanding that it's more than just recruiting, so to speak. Recruiting is a major part of the job, though. Like, understanding that's the lifeline of college. In order to have a successful program, you need to have good players. But individually, as a young coach, as a guy that wants to go on and do more things, have aspirations for my career, I want people to know that I definitely am a recruiter, but I'm an X&O guy. I can teach. I understand the game. I'm a student of the game. So from that's something that I wouldn't want to be pigeonholed or labeled as just that. So yeah, that would probably be my answer that comes to my head right away.
Great answer. You're right. You don't want to get pigeonholed, and that's why at the beginning I stated you're not just a recruiter. I mean, I know the work that you do. that you
Right.
put in. I think you're very versatile, which is gonna help you tremendously in this profession.
I'll say this
Um,
too. Probably from a perception, I'm very calm. Uh, I'm not going to be the loudest guy in the room, so to speak. And I'm not crazy emotional, but you can best believe that I'm super competitive. There's a fire inside that, like, if it's me or you, I like my chances. And that's coming from how we brought up, how we were raised, coming from our area, like, you got that chip on your shoulder, you got that competitiveness. But from a personality standpoint, I'm never going to be the loudest guy in the room. I'm a more of a thinker, an analytical guy. And when it's time to get on guys, I get on them, but I wouldn't want people to, to see how I look and say, oh, well, he doesn't care, or he's not that passionate. No, that's furthest from the case. So that's probably something else that comes to my mind.
I can definitely say you're a competitor.
Yeah.
What you're removed, but not too far removed, because you can relate to the younger kids, especially AAU helped you a little bit being on the grassroots level. Like, what would you try to teach your players besides basketball? Like, what would you try to teach them? Because you're kind of, like I said, you've been around these kids. A lot of these kids, when you first got in, just finished college, or someone who in college now. Talk about what will you try to teach your players besides basketball?
Yeah, I would just say, man, things just don't happen on accident. So if you want to be a good player, you got to put in the work. And that's like, we talked about sacrificing some stuff I did as a coach. As a player, you're gonna have, if you really want to be good, like this guy that talk about it, but you got to actually live it. You got to put the time in and understand that, at an early age, like, hey, if this is what I really want to do, I gotta maybe not go to this party or not hang out late, or maybe I gotta get up early and get in the gym and start working on my game outside of the times allotted with your high school coach or your AU coach. So I would say, yeah, like things don't just happen. You have to make them happen. The harder you work, good things normally do happen. So work ethic, accountability, being responsible, being on time. I think that's one of the biggest forms of respect that you can have, is like, if you're supposed to be somewhere at a certain time, be there. And that translates, in basketball, and also in real life, in the real world. I also would say, take advantage of this opportunity as a college basketball player, man. You getting a full scholarship, at an institution of higher learning where you'd be able to get a degree. And for most of these guys, at least at the Division I and a handful of Division II level, like, you're getting a full scholarship where you're going to leave here with no debt. And I still have college debt. I know plenty of my friends that aren't college coaches, or that were college coaches, or were college basketball players that aren't college basketball players. Like, debt is a real thing. So definitely take advantage of that. And one of the things I call it, like, the alley-oop for life, like, especially for young African-American males, to be able to leave college with no debt. And as you go through your college experience, you're probably going to have an apartment, off-campus apartment or on-campus apartment, where, you're paying your bills. And because you're a basketball player, you're afforded the luxury, it's a part of the package, that you're essentially getting money to pay your bills for free anyway. So, now this gets into my background. I was in the finance world, business world, but, guys are going to leave college debt-free and pretty much have a 750. They should have a 750 type credit score, because we're giving them the money to pay their bills. And I just think, in society today, man, as young men, future husbands and fathers, to start your path off with no debt and a good credit score, you don't understand how big of a leg up you have on, the rest of America. So that's something that I talk to our guys about now, and we as a program talk about, but we definitely need to take advantage of that and get guys to understand, like, the bigger picture, like short term versus long term. Something like now short term, you get your cost of attendance, you get your rent check and all that, and I'm blowing it fast. I tell guys don't do that. Have fun and buy yourself some nice things and everything like that. But think about the long term saving, investing, just money management type things now. So
that's great stuff. Financial literacy series.
Yeah.
I think more of that class needs to be taught to these young men, and especially now with the
NIL
new
and all that coming in.
like that's huge.
For
And
sure.
it's interesting to say that because I just talked to a former Takeover kid's dad who I had a relationship with going back to 1994, 93, 94. So if we talked about the NIL and how he should go about it, he just called and asked what my opinion on it and how she handles it. It's interesting that you say that. And the one thing we talked about was financial literacy.
That's a big thing.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Now you worked with, you talked about Hardy, you've been with Lane, and I always ask this question to guys because you always talk about whether it's a past or present. You've been around a lot of these coaches. Like if you had a chance to sit down, whether it was lunch, breakfast, dinner for 2 or 3 hours, pick the brain of some of these coaches, past or present, just like what did it take them? What made them tick? What made them special? What made them do the things that they did? Give me 2 or 3 names that you would want to sit down with and just pick their brain. It could be non-football, it could be non-basketball, it could be non-athletic. Like who would you want to sit down with and pick their brain and just figure out like what made them tick?
Oh man, that's a tough one because it's funny. I was the young guy that would watch interviews of like coaches post game, pre game. I'm the guy that watches stuff on YouTube's and X and O's, stuff like that. I probably would say Bill Belichick. This is football, but just building that.
He one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Yeah.
Like, when people come on and you start naming guys, like there's other, you can cross over because, like who would want to sit down with Bill Belichick, pick his brain? You know what I'm saying? You're right about that.
Yeah, just from like, his reputation of like, obviously building that culture and that program for 25 years, but he's also known for taking away what you do best and the study and the process that goes into that. He does a good job of developing players. So just his overall thought process of, identifying talent, developing talent, game planning, taking away what the opponent does best. I think I definitely would love to, speak with him about that. And then from basketball is tough, man, because I've watched a lot of different guys. I've been exposed to different styles of play. So that's a tough one, man. That's a tough one. I actually, big Brad Stevens fan. He just transitioned from coaching to the front office. So, I would say maybe Brad Stevens, but let me think. Hey, LB, you put me on the spot.
Sorry, it's so many, man.
Obviously, like what Monty Williams is doing right now is amazing. And again, his demeanor, he's very stoic. He's not an overly, loud or braggadocious person. But he gets right to the point, and he's prepared. He's knowledgeable. He's got relationships. They play a fun brand, a style to play. So I would say probably him. Steve Kerr, Mike D'Antoni. Just a couple. Yeah, those are name a few. I don't want to get into a list because we can go on and on. I watch basketball all day, all night, but those are probably, from a style of play standpoint and who I would love to just talk to and learn more from.
I feel you, man. You've been in it short term, but you've been around basketball a long time. What is the strangest thing a player has done outside of the basketball court that you just was like, wow, I can't even believe that happened? You want to name names, but something you just like, wow, That really happened?
This is a tough one. You said, what is the strangest thing they've done off the court?
Strange, weird, that you just like, I can't believe that. Like, I just can't believe that happened.
Man. Whew. I'm trying to be walk a fine line about what's, a couple stories come to mind, but a couple stories don't need to be told. Shoot. I would give you this. How I spoke about time management and being on time is, to me, a form of respect. And, had guys for sure that have flat out missed things they were supposed to be at. And to me, they're young and they're learning, but there's no excuse for that. So I would say that's a condensed story of what the real story or real stories are. But yeah, having guys that, that's a part of it, being late and everything, but to, flat out miss something was pretty like, how did that happen? So that's what that's the story I'll go with.
I feel you. I'm gonna ask you this. This kind of an entertaining question. Like, what movie or TV show title best describes your week?
Best describe my week. Hey, look, I don't know if I was prepared for all these questions, LB.
It's not about preparation. Authentic. Being authentic is what it is.
I would say, I would say 24, right? The concept of 24 of like, yo, you got until this certain time to get something done. And I set like little weekly goals or, things I want to get accomplished by a certain time. And I would say that's what comes to my mind right away. It's actually more difficult for me to pick a show and try to correlate it to my life because I watch so many different shows or I'm interested in so many different things, but 24 would probably be the concept of 24 as far as like, yo, you got an objective and it has to get done by this certain time. So that's what I would say for right now.
I respect that. That. It's a good one. That's a good answer. Great answer. What's your favorite word or phrase that you like to use?
You can't cheat the grind. The grind knows. So, if you ain't putting in that work, when it's game day, it's going to show. When it's live in practice, it's going to show. Or just in your job, your profession, it's going to show. So you can't cheat it. You got to grind. You got to work hard if you want to have good results. And the work knows if you're putting the work in. So I would say, yeah, that's something I go by. Can't cheat the grind. Can't cheat the grind. The grind knows. That's something that. Yep.
Awesome. I love it. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
That I've ever given or received?
Received.
That I've been given?
Yep.
Yep. All right, two things come to mind. One, as I was transitioning from AU high school coach to college, was, you're in your position, you're probably not going to be talking to, Coach K or some of these coaches, but you're going to be talking to assistant coaches and, just forming relationships with them as assistants. Cause, one day those are going to be the guys that get hired and, be in position to possibly give you an opportunity to become a coach. And someone taught me that early on, and that's actually exactly what happened for me. And, I'm hoping that, I'll have the opportunity to do the same, in the next couple of years. So, form a relationship with assistant coaches, authentic relationships, not fake or not just trying to check a box, having a real relationship with guys. Cause, and I know, as you move further in this relationship, people hire people they know or have a relationship with. People do get hired and they don't know each other, And that's when the background checks and, relationships amongst other people, come into play. But, people tend to hire guys that they know have a relationship with. And then later on, I received some advice about it's not what you know that'll get you there, it's who you know, but it's what you know when you get there that'll keep you there. So again, you gotta have relationships, you gotta form relationships, you gotta network, to put yourself in a position to get what you're trying to get or attain what you're trying to attain. But at the same time, you gotta be prepared and you gotta know what you're getting into, because once you get there, it's what you know and what you're capable of doing that's going to keep you there. No longer who you know. So that's kind of worked out for me as well too. So those are probably two things that I've got from an advice standpoint that's worked out.
Two great pieces of information. I'll ask you this, because you're not a selfish person. I think you're a selfless person. I think you're very selfless. And if you had to choose 3 adjectives to describe yourself, which ones would you choose?
Driven. Like I'm very driven to, accomplish some dreams and goals that I have for myself. So that would probably be number 1. Responsible. I pride myself on I have responsibilities within basketball and then outside of basketball that, for me is important. Like I gotta make sure I'm on top of my game and understanding that I'm representing the university, but I'm also representing myself and my family. So I need to make responsible decisions and, just be responsible in general. And then, intelligent. I think I'm a smart guy. I don't want to say it like that, but I'm always hungry to learn. I don't think I'm in my prime form, so to speak. I think I've learned a lot. There's so much for me to learn, but I pride myself in being a smart individual, very analytical, I'm a thinker. So I would say those are probably 3 that I would use to describe myself.
3 great ones too. I'm gonna ask, and I like to ask this: what person and or event has had the most influence on your life?
Oof. Yeah, I would say, my parents, obviously, seeing what they went through and, how we lived. And, obviously I want to put myself in a position to, have a family and raise kids and do, do things the right way. I'm not gonna get too personal, but that's something that drives me, just from how I grew up. Wasn't like fairy tale or anything, but I do want to. I know that one person can change the course of a whole family, and I pride myself in hopefully being able to continue to do that for my family. And then from a mentorship or individual, Keith Stevens, has been very integral part of my coaching career, coaching life. But I've been fortunate, not just him, to meet a ton of really great guys that I can call at any time, and they've kind of my camp, so to speak. Glenn Farello, Doug Martin, Brendan O'Connell, even now, Coach Lane, Coach Hardy. Like I've been fortunate to be around some really good guys. But as far as the path and the plan and what it takes to be successful and how hard you got to work and the sacrifice you have to make and everything, Keith Stevens obviously has been a really big influence, a role model, in my personal life and professional life. So
got some good ones, man. Short dog,
yeah.
always got I always got to shout out Short Dog, man. You know that. And knowing what you know, knowing what you know now, like what would you tell your young or younger self to prepare for as an assistant coach? Like, I mean, you jumped out after you were a player, but like, what would you tell your younger self?
Man, not selfishly. I'll say this. I'm very goal oriented. Truthfully, man, I've been able to hit a lot of the goals that I set for myself as I was transitioning into coaching. But I would tell my younger self, man, just continue to be adaptable, understanding that like no situation is perfect. Things change. Like things change every day in this business, literally every day. So just, be adaptable, understand that things are changing, and you need to be able to change to get the results done. That would probably be the biggest thing. But honestly, man, what I did growing up, as far as in this, and what I'm continuing to do is, set goals, put in the work to achieve them, and then set new goals. And that I would not want to tell my younger self that, because that's, to me, all about your mindset and how you going about living your life and accomplishing what you want to accomplish. So I would say be adaptable and know that things are going to change, and you're gonna get thrown some curveballs, but you still got to get the job done. And then definitely set goals, achieve them, and then set new goals.
That's great stuff, man. Dropping jewels left and right. Well, look, I want to thank you again, Brenden, for being a guest on the show and being unmasked. Is there anything you want to leave with the viewers before we go?
Nah, man, I just appreciate you taking the time out, sitting down and us connecting and being able to catch up. It's always good to catch up with a fellow PG County guy, and somebody I consider a friend, and a guy that's giving me a lot of game, a lot of jewels behind the scenes as I'm having a career that I'm trying to have. So I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate what you're doing as far as giving opportunities for coaches to get out and tell their story. I think it's a great platform for guys to learn about some of the guys that we see in the gym all the time on the road recruiting, and you may not have a personal relationship with them, and kind of hear their story, but also just getting guys in front of the camera and an opportunity to speak and be heard. And what you're doing, I think is really good for this generation of coaches. And I'm thankful to be a part of it, thankful to be able to support you and what you're doing. And I just appreciate you taking the time out.
Well, you're welcome, man. And like I said, thank you again. And I expect only but big things from you. I know that's going to happen. And so I say thanks for being a part of the show. And I want to thank you viewers for watching another great show. Stay tuned for the next guests as we get them unmasked. See you next time, and stay safe.